On the night of March 26, 2010, the Republic of Korea Navy corvette, ROKS Cheonan, was on patrol in the Yellow Sea, near Bangyong Island, when a torpedo impacted her hull and broke the ship in two. 46 sailors were lost. The investigation that followed, conducted by a multinational team including experts from South Korea, the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Sweden, concluded that the torpedo was North Korean, fired from a Yono-class midget submarine. The conclusion was disputed by North Korea and by China, which preferred the dispute over the diplomatic costs of agreement. The physical evidence, torpedo fragments, propulsion shaft materials, and acoustic signatures recorded by 3 separate sensor networks, was not disputed by anyone who had examined it with professional honesty. The Yono-class is not a system this channel dismisses. It is a small submarine, approximately 130 tons, approximately 30 meters in length, that was designed specifically to operate in the shallow, acoustically complex waters of the Yellow Sea and the approaches to the Korean Peninsula, where conventional submarines with larger displacement and greater depth requirements cannot maneuver effectively. The Yono's shallow water capability is its primary tactical value, and it demonstrated that value in 2010 in a manner that the Republic of Korea Navy, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, and the United States Navy have all spent the intervening years taking seriously. The plan and the Russian Navy have also noted it. Midget submarines in shallow, thermally cluttered coastal water are a genuine and studied problem. The Yono is the reason that tonight's Japan Sea ASW operation is being conducted at the level of intensity it is. The intelligence picture that triggered this operation arrived 48 hours ago. A National Reconnaissance Office satellite passed over a North Korean naval facility on the east coast of the peninsula. A small installation south of Wonsan with a covered boat basin that is consistent with midget submarine operations produced imagery showing that the facility's covered basin had an open access pattern for approximately 90 minutes that differed from the preceding week's observations. An NRO analyst flagged the observation as possibly consistent with a submarine departure. The possibly is a professional hedge. The covered basin could have been opened for maintenance, for loading, for inspection. It is not definitive evidence of a submarine deployment, but combined with other intelligence, signals traffic from the facility in the preceding 48 hours, a pattern of surface craft activity in the approaches that could be consistent with supporting operations for a submerged asset. The intelligence community's collective assessment was elevated probability of Yono-class deployment in the Japan Sea operating area. Elevated probability is not a certainty. It is the basis for elevating the watch posture and tasking the ASW assets. USS Chafee, DDG-90, an Arleigh Burke flight, 2A destroyer, the same ship that appears earlier in this series in a different Japan Sea encounter, is operating in the western Japan Sea, approximately 95 nautical miles from the North Korean coastline. She is not alone tonight. Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force destroyer JS Shimakaze, a Hatakaze-class guided missile destroyer, is operating 28 nautical miles to the northwest. JMSDF destroyer escort JS Setagiri, an Asagiri-class vessel with dedicated ASW sensors, is 41 nautical miles to the south, positioned to cover the deeper water approaches, while USS Chafee and Shimakaze work the shallower northwestern sector. The 3-ship coordination is deliberate. The area they are covering is divided into sectors that account for each vessel's sensor strengths and the geographic complexity of the western Japan Sea's acoustic environment. This is a joint operation. It has been planned with the professional attention that the intelligence picture demands and the historical record of the Yono-class capability requires. The time is 22:31. The Japan Sea is dark and cold. Sea state 2, overcast. There is no moon. The sonar conditions in this area, where the depth ranges from 200 to 1,400 meters, and the thermocline geometry varies considerably with the season, are being actively modeled by the oceanographic prediction system that both USS Chafee and the JMSDF ships are running. The model says tonight's conditions favor detection at some ranges and degraded at others, with the shallow coastal zones being the most acoustically complex and the most relevant to the Yono's operating profile. At 22:31, the AN/SQR-19 towed array on USS Chafee returns an anomaly. The anomaly is faint, something on bearing 285 southwest at the edge of the array's detection threshold for small, slow contacts in this acoustic environment. The sonar operator has been listening to this sector of the Japan Sea for 4 hours. The background is well characterized. The anomaly is not the background. She marks it and watches it for 90 seconds before reporting. After 90 seconds, it is still there, and it is consistent in character, and consistency at the edge of detection threshold in an area where a Yono-class submarine might be operating is the kind of observation that gets reported immediately. The tactical action officer receives the report at 22:33. He looks at the bearing. He looks at the geographic picture. Bearing 285 from USS Chafee's current position points toward the coastal shoaling zone, approximately 40 nautical miles southwest. Water that gets progressively shallower as it approaches the North Korean coast, ranging from 150 meters at the outer edge to less than 50 meters in the inner approaches. This is Yono-class operating water. The depth profile is exactly what a 130-ton midget submarine with a shallow water optimized design would seek. He transmits the contact data to J.S. Shimakaze and J.S. Setogiri via the Trilateral ASW coordination net immediately. This is where tonight's operation becomes operationally interesting and operationally distinct from every other ASW encounter in this series. The vulnerability in this scenario is not a broken piece of equipment. It is not a maintenance cycle. It is acoustic. The shallow coastal zone that the contact appears to be in is a zone where the SQR-19's performance is degraded by exactly the factors the Yono was designed to exploit. In water under 100 meters, surface ship towed arrays lose their geometric advantage. The array cannot achieve the depth separation from the thermocline that gives it its performance in deep water. The contact is at the outer edge of the array's detection range in this environment. Range estimation is unreliable. Bearing accuracy is reduced. What USS Chafee has is a possible bearing with low confidence and almost no ability to localize. More critically, the Yono-class at ultra-quiet speeds in shallow water produces an acoustic signature that is, by the honest assessment of the operators who have worked the problem longest, very difficult to distinguish from ambient noise in this environment. The Japanese Navy has been collecting acoustic data on North Korean submarine operations in the Japan Sea for decades. The JMSDF maintains a fixed hydrophone array network, similar to the U.S. Navy's SOSUS architecture, in the approaches to the Korean Peninsula and the Western Japan Sea that has been accumulating data on North Korean submarine acoustic signatures for years. J.S. Setogiri is the node through which that archive is accessible in real time tonight. When USS Chafee's contact data arrives on the ASW net at 22:33, the JMSDF's coordination center at Yokosuka is already cross-referencing it against the hydrophone network's current picture within 90 seconds. At 22:36, J.S. Setogiri's ASW coordinator transmits a correlation. The JMSDF fixed array network is showing what appears to be a faint broadband contact on a bearing consistent with USS Chafee's report, at an estimated range of approximately 38 nautical miles from Chafee's position. The correlation is tentative. The fixed array's bearing resolution in this zone is not precise, but the correlation exists. Two independent sensor systems, bearing consistent faint in the shallow coastal zone. The tactical action officer aboard USS Chafee notes the correlation. The probability that both systems are picking up the same ambient artifact at the same bearing simultaneously is not zero, but it is lower than the probability that both systems are detecting the same contact. The watch team's assessment moves from possible contact to probable contact. The MH-60R Seahawk on USS Chafee, callsign Dusty 44, armed with the AQS-22 laser mine detection system and, more relevantly tonight, a full set of DIFAR sonobuoys and the dipping sonar, was launched at 22:15, 16 minutes before the towed array anomaly, as part of the pre-planned ASW patrol, tasking for this operating period. Dusty 44 is currently 22 nautical miles southwest of USS Chafee, working a sonobuoy pattern that was designed around the oceanographic model's prediction of the best detection geometry in the coastal zone. The Seahawk crew receives the contact data via data link at 22:34 and immediately begins repositioning toward the bearing-consistent zone. At 22:44, Dusty 44's acoustic processor returns a contact correlation on one of the sonobuoys deployed earlier in the patrol. The buoy is approximately 35 nautical miles southwest of USS Chafee. The contact correlation is at a frequency consistent with a small low-power electric motor. A tonal at approximately 52 Hz, faint, intermittent. The intermittence is characteristic of a submarine that is either varying its motor speed slightly or is in a sound propagation environment that is producing intermittent ducting of the tonal. The frequency is in the range associated with small propulsion motors of the type used in midget submarine designs. 52 Hz tonal, intermittent buoy 4, the Seahawk's acoustic sensor operator reports. Consistent with small electric motor. Not matching biological, she adds a qualification. Confidence is low. This is at the floor of the detection envelope for this environment. Low confidence at the floor of the detection envelope in an area where an elevated probability Yono deployment was assessed, with 2 independent bearing-consistent reports preceding it. The commanding officer aboard USS Chafee, who has been on the bridge since the first towed array report at 22:33, reviews the accumulation. Towed array bearing, fixed array correlation, sonobuoy tonal, all bearing consistent, all faint, all at the limit of their respective systems. This is what the Yono-class looks like when you are finding it in the environment it was designed to hide in. Let us address the Yono-class specifically, because this scenario requires it. The Yono-class midget submarine is approximately 30 meters long, displacing between 110 and 130 tons submerged. Designed for littoral operations, special operations insertion, intelligence collection, and, as the Cheonan demonstrated, offensive torpedo operations against surface combatants in shallow water. At ultra-quiet speeds of 2 to 3 knots on electric drive in water under 100 meters, it is one of the most acoustically challenging targets in the Western Pacific. The JMSDF knows this. The people who plan Japan CASW operations design their sensor architectures specifically around it. 3. Bearing consistent reports from 3 independent systems tonight is not an accident. It is what years of targeted ASW development produces. What the Yono does not know is that the JMSDF fixed hydrophone network has been recording acoustic data in these approaches for decades, and that archive contains North Korean submarine signature entries the engineers who designed the Yono did not know would ever be collected at this fidelity. The fixed array correlation at 22:36 was not a lucky guess. It was a match against a profile refined over years of previous transits. The Yono's builders made it very difficult to detect. They did not make it impossible, and the gap between those two things has been narrowed systematically. At 22:54, Dusty 44 deploys 2 additional sonobuoys bracketing the 52 Hz tonal contact, creating a triangulation geometry that allows the acoustic sensor operator to develop a rough range estimate, approximately 37 to 40 nautical miles from USS Chafee's position, in water of approximately 80 to 100 meters depth, moving at estimated 2 to 3 knots on a course the operator characterizes as approximately east-southeast. East-southeast from the coastal zone means the contact is heading away from the coast into progressively deeper water. This is consistent with a submarine that has completed whatever it came to do in the coastal zone and is transitioning toward a deeper water transit corridor. It could also be a submarine that has detected the sonobuoy deployment and is maneuvering away from the detection geometry. The tactical action officer transmits the updated contact picture to JS Shimakaze and JS Setagiri and to JMSDF Fleet in Yokosuka and to 7th Fleet in Yokosuka via the Trilateral Coordination Net and the Standard Intelligence Reporting Chain simultaneously. The contact picture is tentative. The confidence level on every individual observation is low. The combination of 3 independent, bearing-consistent, frequency-consistent reports at low individual confidence produces a collective confidence that the ASW coordination officer at Yokosuka, reviewing the aggregated picture, assesses as medium. Medium confidence, probable contact on a Yono-class submarine in the Western Japan Sea shallow zone. It goes into the theater intelligence picture. It goes to Pacific Command. It goes to the intelligence community's North Korean submarine program assessments. Below decks on USS Chafee, the electronic warfare officer has been monitoring the electromagnetic environment on the contact bearing since the first report. At 2241, the SLQ-32 detected a brief, low-power radar emission on bearing 280, close to the contact bearing, consistent with a small navigation radar of the type fitted to some North Korean midget submarine variants for use when snorkeling. The emission lasted approximately 4 seconds and then stopped. 4 seconds is not enough to localize a radar source. It is enough to log the frequency, the pulse repetition interval, and the power level. The frequency matches no commercial vessel navigation radar in the current traffic picture. It matches the frequency range associated with a specific Soviet-derived small vessel radar that intelligence assessments have associated with North Korean midget submarine snorkel operations in previous intercepts. 4-second radar emission, bearing 280, power level consistent with close range, the EW officer reports. Frequency matches the small vessel radar associated with Yono-class snorkel operations in the 2019 assessment. He marks the emission in the collection record. The 4-second emission goes to the ASW net immediately. The JMSDF ASW coordinator at Yokosuka receives it within seconds and cross-references it against the fixed array's contact correlation. The radar emission bearing and the fixed array correlation bearing are consistent. The electronic warfare collection corroborates the acoustic collection. The collective confidence level at Yokosuka moves from medium to medium high. The rules of engagement for this trilateral operation are specific. Detection and tracking are authorized. Classification and identification are authorized. Prosecution, the active development of a kinetic engagement solution, is not authorized without a clear hostile act or threat posture, and a submerged submarine transiting the Japan Sea in international waters does not constitute a hostile act, regardless of whose submarine it is. This is the correct legal framework and the correct operational framework, because the last thing the Japan Sea needs is an engagement incident involving a North Korean submarine on the basis of medium-high confidence acoustic intelligence in a zone where the acoustic environment is challenging. The contact is being tracked. It is not being prosecuted. What is happening instead is collection. And the collection by 2330 has accumulated into the most detailed picture of a probable Yono-class submarine operating in the Japan Sea's coastal transition zone that the Trilateral ASW program has assembled in a single operational period. The collection summary includes the SQR-19 towed array bearing track spanning 61 minutes with 14 bearing updates, the JMSDF fixed array correlation at 2 time points separated by 47 minutes, providing a velocity estimate that is consistent with the sonobuoy range estimate. Dusty 44's sonobuoy acoustic picture, including the 52 Hz tonal and 2 subsequent tonal measurements that are consistent with the contact increasing speed. The tonal frequency shifted upward slightly at 2312 and again at 2324, consistent with a motor running at higher RPM, and the 4-second radar emission at 2241 with its frequency characterization. Combined, these inputs produce a contact history that tells the ASW intelligence program things about how the Yono operates in this specific acoustic environment that previous collections have only approximated. The tonal frequency at operating speed, 52 Hz, is a direct measurement of this submarine's specific electric motor characteristic, not the Yono-class in general. This hull, at this power setting, in this water temperature and salinity. The measurement is precise enough to add a new data point to the acoustic library entry for Yono-class submarines that will improve future detection probability calculations at these acoustic conditions. The velocity estimate from the fixed array correlation, cross-referenced against the sonobuoy range estimates, produces a motion profile that will be compared against previous Yono contact records to assess whether the behavior pattern, coastal transit at low speed, transition to faster speed when detection appears likely, is characteristic of the class's operational doctrine. If the pattern is consistent, the doctrinal assessment can be updated with higher confidence. The behavioral picture of how a Yono responds to probable detection is itself tactically significant intelligence. The JMSDF's contribution to tonight's collection deserves specific acknowledgement because the operational intelligence value of the fixed array correlation cannot be obtained without it. USS Chafee, operating alone tonight, would have had a towed array bearing and a Seahawk sonobuoy contact at low confidence. With the JMSDF correlation, the aggregate picture moves to medium-high. The trilateral coordination that placed USS Chafee and JS Setagiri in complementary sensor geometries tonight was designed precisely to produce this kind of corroboration. The design worked. The Alliance intelligence product is greater than the sum of its parts. The Yono's builders designed it to defeat single-platform ASW. They did not design it to defeat a coordinated three-platform ASW operation with a fixed-array hydrophone archive behind it. At 2347, the contact falls below the detection threshold of all three sensor systems. The towed array returns to ambient. The sonobuoys return to ambient. The fixed array at Yokosuka shows nothing consistent with the contact on its previous bearing track. The contact is gone, either moved out of sensor range at higher speed or dropped below the acoustic horizon in the deeper water, east-southeast of the coastal zone, or parked on the bottom in the shallows waiting out the surveillance. All three are possible. The first two are most consistent with the speed increase suggested by the tonal frequency shift at 2312 and 2324. The trilateral ASW coordination. Net updates the contact is lost at 2347. Lost does not mean gone. It means the current sensor geometry no longer supports tracking. The contact was tracked for 1 hour and 14 minutes. The collection during that period is complete. The summary product, when assembled by the Trilateral ASW Coordination Center at Yokosuka, will run to 37 pages, of which 18 are JMSDF contributed data that USS Chafee would not have had operating alone. The interoperability of the Trilateral ASW architecture is the story inside the story. The 37 pages will be distributed to Pacific Command, to the 7th Fleet ASW program, to the ONI's Korea programs, and to the JMSDF and ROK Navy Intelligence Directorates. The ROK Navy's interest is highest. They operate in the Yellow Sea, where the Yono demonstrated its capability in 2010, and every piece of Yono operational behavior data they can obtain from Japan sea incidents improves their own ASW picture for the approaches they have to defend. The commanding officer is completing his situation report at 022. It claims a probable contact, corroborated by 3 independent systems, assessed at medium-high confidence. Not confirmed. Probably a Yono. The evidence supports it. The acoustic environment's limitations are acknowledged. This is what professional intelligence reporting looks like, he notes privately. The trilateral coordination worked exactly as designed. Without the JMSDF fixed array, this was a low-confidence single-platform observation, not warranting the distribution it is receiving. He notes that the 48-hour intelligence lead 1 satellite pass, 90 minutes of open basin, 1 NRO analyst, is what put 3 ships in the right place. He will mention this at the next all-hands. The people in windowless rooms looking at satellite imagery at unsociable hours deserve to know that their work tonight produced 37 pages in the right inboxes. The coffee is from a fresh pot. 3 cups over 1 hour and 14 minutes of probable Yono contact is the correct caffeine investment. The contact is gone. The collection is transmitted. The Japan Sea is dark. Now North Korean state media said nothing. This is consistent with North Korean state media's approach to submarine operations. Unlike the Houthis, who announced their operations with the enthusiastic promotional communication of an organization that needs its activities to serve as recruitment and morale material for a domestic and regional audience, North Korea's military communications are structured around announcements that enhance the deterrence posture. Ballistic missile launches, artillery exercises, statements of capability, and the operational activities that would undermine that posture by revealing operational failures or the extent of Allied tracking capability are not discussed. The KCNA does not report Yono-class submarine patrol activities. The patrols are the deterrence. The silence is part of the deterrence. The 37 pages are the response to the silence. 2 days after the contact, an analyst at the Naval Intelligence Support Center completes the tonal frequency comparison. The 52 Hz tonal matches within the measurement uncertainty of the nighttime Japan Sea acoustic conditions. A contact recorded by the JMSDF fixed array in 2021 in the Yellow Sea approaches. A contact that the ROK Navy's Intelligence Directorate assessed at the time as a probable Yono on a transit toward a special operations insertion route south of the northern limit line. The same hull. 2 years apart. 2 different operating areas. The operational pattern is consistent with a submarine that operates in both the Yellow Sea and Japan Sea theaters, alternating between areas in a manner that maximizes its strategic flexibility while staying within the depth limits the Yono's design requires. The pattern assessment goes into a supplemental analytical product that the NISCS distributes the following week. The supplemental product is 17 pages. It references tonight's Japan Sea contact as one of 4 data points in the pattern assessment. The other 3 are from JMSDF and ROK Navy collections. The Alliance Intelligence Architecture produced the pattern. No single Navy had all 4 data points. 46 sailors were lost on the Cheonan in 2010. The ASW operation in the Japan Sea tonight produced 0 losses, 37 pages, and a pattern assessment that will inform how 3 Allied navies position their ASW assets in the coming months. The Yono is a real threat. It is a threat that is being studied, tracked, and understood with increasing precision by the alliance that has the most direct stake in making the shallow coastal waters of the Korean peninsula as inhospitable to it as the deep ocean is hospitable. The work continues. The coffee is from a fresh pot. The Japan Sea is dark. The alliance is listening. Bye for now.